Hi guys, Freddy here, with something a little bit different. You see, earlier in the year when it was my birthday, I got this book for my birthday. And it's great. I have to admit that I love all the blueprints of starships. These were fantastic designs, which I definitely wanted to do for the site. Lovely starships. All variants of the Millennium Falcon. But it was actually one section in particular which really interested me. If I go back a few pages, it was this section. Because over on this page, you can see it shows all the parts which go together to build all these designs over here. And I thought, well, if we've got the graphics in this book, what would happen if we designed a utility on the website, RPG Gamer, which allowed us to slot all these together and create our own designs of ships. Plus, I could incorporate all the bits of the other ships, not just the YT-1300. We could have the cockpits from the 2400, cargo pods from the 1930, and the extended neck of the YT-2000. So I actually went ahead and did that, and released a version a wee while ago. If we flick over to the website, you can see here it is. I'll include the link down below, but if you go to the website, RPG Gamer, you can see the link over here, or it's mentioned over here as well, the CZ YT Ship Designer. And you see what happens is you've got the basic Millennium Falcon here with the options. You can change the options. So if we turn off the bit for this central missile launcher, we turn off the side cockpit, and we add the cockpit of the YT-2000. And then let's turn off these docking tunnels. Put one on the back. We'll take that engine away. We'll add these. And we've got something which looks kind of like a Millennium Falcon, but it's its own unique ship. Take off that sensor dish. We'll add a different one. Choose how many crew. Well, we want it to be a cargo ship, so we'll lower the number of passengers. Hit assemble ship. And the website goes away, and it provides us a nice graphic that we can save out. We can drag it here, and we can save it out to our desktop, or wherever we want. We've got the stats for it on D6 here, working out based on the weapons, the length, the cost, how much cargo space, and all that. And I've even recently improved it, so it's got the stats for Edge of the Empire and the Fantasy Flight Games versions down here. But let's come back to my face. But that's not all. That's not why I'm doing this video, just to talk about that. What I've been able to see, because I can see what pages people click on, and when the ship gets generated, it creates its own unique URL. So you can actually copy the URL and send it to other people so they can see the ship you've designed. I can see that in the logs. So I can go in and I can see what ships people have been designing. So I decided to do this video so we can have a wee look through and see what ships people have been making up. See what I think of them, see how ugly they are, see how pretty they are, see what my tool can do. So if we come back to my desktop, so we've got a fairly basic YT vessel here. We've got what looks like a more aerodynamic cockpit. We've moved it into the middle. We've got 3 major rocket thrusters, which are the basic ones. Apparently people didn't like the slit design according to the Haynes manual. People wanted more traditional engines, so that was a fairly common change to the YT-1300. And we've got the largest sensor dish. We go over. Well, this is a combination of the mandibles of the YT-2000 and the split section on the main hull, plus a side cockpit of the 2400. It looks kind of aggressive. I quite like the design on this one. What else we got? Obviously, because these were done sequentially, this was probably by the same guy. Now, this looks a bit weirder. I don't really like it as much. We've got the 3 rocket engines. We've got a larger docking port to the side. We've got this long ramming bar or whatever here. Apparently, these are actually supposed to be sensor probes, but there's so many ways of upgrading sensors that I just went and made them into large turbo lasers and a small mandible. What else we got? This is kind of cute. I quite like this. I'm not keen on the engines, they look underpowered, but we've got the center turret on it, two side turrets, a little dinky cockpit, and wee mandibles. This looks like a wee combat ship, probably used by pirates. Now here we've got the YT-2000 cockpit, larger mandibles, two large sensor dishes, engines off a Saronian Conqueror, the standard docking ports. So this is going to be a lot faster. It's got a chunk more cargo space. Yeah, this is definitely a sort of smuggler ship. Blast in and blast out. Shooting through blockades. Oh dear. Okay. Over on this side we've got large cargo holds with a docking port. I've never liked the left side cockpits. It looks kind of alien to me. We've got the missile launcher, a much smaller mandible, so I guess they've got fairly good line of sight to the front instead of large cargo mandibles blocking their view. We've got the back cargo pods, and we've got heavy thrusters. So it might not be as slow as it could be because it's got a lot of cargo on board, but I do not like that ship. So we've got rear cargo pods with engines here, the top mounted cargo pods clamped onto the top hull, standard YT cockpit center mounted sensor dishes. I have no idea what this would be for. It's got a lot of cargo space, but it's kind of cool. We're back again to a YT-2400 style. Weird having the mismatched sensor dishes, but there's a lot of sensor capacity there. We've got the ducted engines, so they're standard rockets underneath there, but we've got this cowling to help direct the thrust a lot better. Small mandibles and a missile launcher. It's kind of a slightly bigger Outrider. Okay, somebody's gone a bit weird on this one. Not sure why you would go for double cockpits, although it does look kind of graceful. It's got almost bird quality to it, as if these are wings. If you'd added a center cockpit, then you could have got away with these being some kind of observation lounges for passengers. Rear-mounted docking port. Lots of laser cannons on it. It's a bit of a fighty ship, but I don't know why you would have two cockpits. I think this is the same person because we've got the same engine array, same side cockpit. They've just stripped a lot off, added a side turret. Right, so the largest cargo bays with what I call the exploration cockpit because it's got sensor arrays on the front of it. This is a bit of an explorer. I suppose if you converted these from cargo bays into passenger quarters, this could be an exploration vessel carrying a small crew, up to 20 or 30 people. You've definitely got major sensor power there, decent engines. Yep, some kind of exploration vessel. We are back to the YT-2000 cockpit. Docking ports on three sides. I've got nothing much more to say about that one. I quite like this. Using the smaller cockpit reset into the YT-2000 sized hull. There's something about that cockpit which makes me think this ship's a lot smaller. The one that we had before, which had this smaller cockpit. Again, a fairly standard YT-2400. It's got the forward missile launcher, external cargo pods. There is nothing much to say about that. I love the YT-1300 mandibles with this cockpit. It creates it very arrow-like, and using these engines, it's giving it an almost diamond shape. Yeah, I like that a lot. That looks quite fast to me. Once again, the YT-2400, a missile launcher and a side turret. Probably should have gone through these more and pruned out the duplicates. I went through and got rid of the exact ones, but I haven't been through. So a lot of these I'm seeing for the first time. YT-2000 style engines, exploration cockpit, small mandibles. Yeah, not much more to say about that. Yeah, that smaller cockpit with the mandibles really works. I like that. Again, a big cargo vessel. We got onto more modern version of the engine because these are separate engines with a gap in between, so you can have a rear docking port. We've got the forward cargo bay and these two big side ones. So this is the Millennium Falcon on steroids. It carries a lot more cargo. You've got ramps beneath and docking ports at the side, so you can get that cargo on and off fast. Powerful sensor array, and instead of just having the engines pointing backwards, you've got them to the side, so that should be fairly maneuverable. Again, large cargo bays, docking ports. There's not much more to say about that. And it's amazing how often we're seeing the same kind of designs come up, isn't it? This is an absolute classic one that apparently everybody tries when they go on the system, which is to turn everything on. I'll have one with everything. So we've got the solar panels over the top, we've got lots of cockpits, we've got all the different engines, we've got rear cargo bays, different types of sensors here. I kind of think it looks like an X-ray of Darth Vader's mask, because we've kind of got the nose, the eyes here, the mouth. Yeah, it's like you were doing a X-ray of the mechanisms in Darth Vader's helmet. That's what it looks like to me. Or just somebody very startled. So we've got our YT-2400 with an extended rear cargo engine and forward mandibles. It's making it back into the YT-1300 type design with the engine's mandibles and a side cockpit, but everything's stretched out. These mandibles are longer than the front ones, the engines are stretched out to the back, and the cockpit's further to the side. It's just a bit exaggerated. Yeah, I like that. That's different. This actually reminds me of the blockade runner. So we've got very short, stumpy mandibles there. We've got the upper cargo pods. We've got Cohen's type engines across the back, and the YT-2000 cockpit at the front. Yeah, that really makes me think of the blockade runner. We've even got a sensor dish in the middle at the back. So taking the Corellian Corvette but shrinking it down to YT-1300 sizes. Yeah, that's an interesting design. We've got some hull armor on this with a sensor blister poking out, the stretched mandibles and forward cargo pod, again with the extended engines, standard YT-1300 cockpit at the side, and a sensor dish at the back, off to the other side. Yeah, it's a heavily armoured YT-1300. It's the Millennium Falcon ready for combat and ready for more cargo. Okay, the fighter cockpit is supposed to be a sort of one-man cockpit, which is small and sleek, but we've got large cargo bays. We've got even more cargo bays on the side. Yeah, this is a heavy transport. This will not be fast at all, even if it's got all these engines at the back. Okay, so quad engines. We've got the YT-2400 cockpit on the side, short mandibles, and a forward docking port, which is a bit different. Large sensor array, and a proton torpedo and heavy blaster cannon at the front. So it's a bit of a sort of pirate ship with cargo space. You can shoot it and then come in forward to dock with it. Yeah, some kind of pirate raider vessel. This is fairly similar to the other one with these stretched mandibles and forward cargo. We've gone for a different back, the HT-2200 cargo bay and engines. So this is quite a bulky, heavy transport with the YT-100 heavy cockpit. Now this actually reminds me of the Millennium Falcon out of the Marvel comics that I'm working my way through, because if you look at those Marvel comics, the Millennium Falcon was shorter, fatter, the cockpit was docked onto the side tunnel. It didn't have its own tunnel coming out. It definitely went straight back and docked into the side, very right angles. The sensor dish was also much larger. So yeah, this looks like somebody's tried to recreate the Millennium Falcon out of the comics. In this version, it'll have more cargo because these are much bulkier. Yeah, I can appreciate that. It's a little rotund Falcon. And this is a cargo version of the same. We've got a forward docking tunnel, which couldn't dock to anything because of these massive cargo bays, and a side cargo bay opposite. I suppose it's being put there so the ramp at the bottom will allow people to enter and exit from the front. Yeah, we can see that the stretch engines are something that people like using, along with these two large cargo bays. They're very common in many designs. That looks almost identical to that other one. We've got a YT-2400 cockpit like the Outrider, short mandibles with forward and rear docking ports, the proton torpedo launcher and blaster cannon, sensor array, and we've gone for the split engines this time for maneuverability. Yeah. I absolutely adore these finned mandibles. I have no idea what they would look like from the side. I can't now imagine them being aerodynamic. So it's got, like, Concorde had canards to allow the nose to direct itself a bit more. That's what I kind of imagine this to be. We've gone for the very boxy cockpit, which I imagine to be very businesslike. The docking ports are sloped back. Yeah, this looks faster, but it's heavy and bulky, so I don't believe it would be. Using these longer mandibles over the top of the winged ones to make the wings stick out halfway through. Plus, we've got sensor blisters out, the very boxy cockpit, and the stretched engines. Pretty similar to the last one, but yeah, I can appreciate that design aesthetic. Now, this to me reminds me of the Defiant out of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. We've got very short mandibles with the center cockpit with weapons on it. We've got sensor arrays and heavy cannons in the middle we can see wired in, plus the proton torpedo and heavy laser cannons on either side. Yeah, I imagine this to be a Millennium Falcon variant of the Defiant. I like the cut-ins from the front and back. This was the most recent revision where I took the cut-ins from the YT-2000 hull that allowed you to add any types of mandibles to it. So somebody's definitely gone for that very nicely. I appreciate this because it was extra work I went to match up the docking port to this type of cockpit. So we've got the YT-100 docking ports and cockpit, quad engine. Not much more to be said than that. It looks very thin in the middle because we've got the indent at the back here and the indent at the front. But yeah, that's quite interesting. Very, very similar. Probably the same person. They took away the front and added this big, big cargo bay. They obviously would have seen that the cutouts lowered their cargo capacity quite low, so they went back and redesigned it to bulk it up. This I kind of imagine to be a rescue craft. Yeah, we've got 3 docking ports there, but 4 sensor dishes along with the exploration cockpit with its own sensor dishes. So I kind of imagine this one going out, scanning for escape pods from a wrecked vessel. You've got plenty of docking abilities. You've got sensors, separate sensor arrays, so you can lock onto multiple targets. And we've got all these cargo canisters across the top with facilities to put the people you rescue in. Yeah, I can imagine that to be a wee in-system rescue craft. And yuck, that is ugly. When I designed this cockpit, I really didn't make it pretty. It was to be an industrial one, and taking it and adding it to a ship with 4 docking ports, short mandibles, the split engines, yeah, that's not a well ship. That's kind of sick. And Long mandibles, industrial. Yeah, this is a cargo vessel, even though it's got the sleek swept back docking ports, got a couple of sensor arrays, and a vented engine system. It looks quite sleek, but it's quite long and bulky. And okay, so it's taken what I was thinking of as the Defiant, but adding large cargo bays to it. They're going to slow it down, but this is still going to have quite a punch. We've got twin front laser cannons there, proton torpedo launchers there, sensor arrays. So this is some kind of pirate vessel. It's not got any docking ports, so you would have to use these sort of hatches on the top. But yeah, it's an interesting design. As we get down to the last few, again, the stretched engine, very common, the swept back docking ports, the YT-1300 mandibles, the YT-2000 cockpit. So we've got a very sort of diamond stretched look. Yeah, that's quite graceful. Okay, I don't even know what to make of this. We've got the finned mandibles, the weaponized cockpit, sensor blisters, gun turrets. They've layered two different docking ports over the back, along with these engines. So with all of these, you're going to have lots of sort of landing gear or ports on the bottom to disembark from. Okay, it's interesting. I really wouldn't have put this extra docking port on here over the top, but I suppose I know my system better than other people do. We're over to the left. It is a graphical glitch in the design that to cover over the disc underneath of the main hull with these indents, that there is just white space here. So where the cockpit is layered underneath, because obviously the cargo bays are supposed to be much higher, the cockpit going underneath, we do end up some weird white space here. But for a large cargo vessel, that's all right. I really quite like the sort of L-shaped here. So we've got front docking ports, we've got this sensor blister, because obviously these blind the pilot, so he uses the sensor blister so he can see out of this side. Then we've got the docking port at the back, which isn't blocked, so that you can actually dock to things in space. Yeah, okay. Again, with the left-hand cockpit, which I'm not keen on. This is probably by the same person who did the last one. They've gone for different nacelles, although kept that. No, I don't like this one as much as the last. We've got a lot going on here with docking ports front, right, and back. There is a certain symmetry to the back of this and the engines, but no, I don't really like that design. A fairly standard left-handed YT-2400, the standard drives, fat docking port at the side, sensor blister at the front, and heavy cannons. Yeah, it's a bit different, but that's fine. And the last one, oh, okay. So we've got the heavy cargo bays with the mandibles underneath to give us the wings out of them. The armed cockpit, sensor arrays with the engines from a Gatroc. Docking ports, the streamlined ones, and the extended. So this will be quite fast, and it should be quite manoeuvrable, because not only has it got the engine at the back here thrusting it forward, but it's got two engines here, so it would provide quite a bit of turn. That's not actually a terrible design, and I don't hate it. That's quite interesting, and that's a nice one to finish off with. The tool is on the website. I'll put the link in the description down below. I hope you've enjoyed me having me pry through this and showing you what this tool can do. There's an ugly designer on the site as well, which is in the middle of being upgraded after some suggestions through Facebook. If you've got any ideas for this, please get in touch. If you enjoy having a play with it, then please share. Anyway, thank you very, very much for watching. As always, please like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing at all. But most of all, you look after yourself, and I'll catch you later. Bye.